Tomb Raider 1 to 3 Remastered seems to be a fantastic remastering of the original 3 games, dramatically updating the visual fidelity while retaining the tone and atmosphere of the original games. As this is a remaster and not a remake, the original mechanics remain intact, which I love for preservation reasons, but they leave the game quite jarring to get used to. With this in mind, here are some tips to help you enjoy Tomb Raider 1 Remastered as much as possible. Before even starting the game, I recommend changing some of the controls options. The settings I recommend changing are as follows. Switching to modern controls from the default tank controls. Turn off walk to interact and turning the sensitivity down to 4 rather than 5. Modern controls enables use of the left stick for movement and the right stick for camera control, which makes controlling Lara much more intuitive. I personally found the game's sensitivity to be too fast, which led to fighting with the controls, so I suggest turning it slightly lower than the default. I'm not exactly sure what the walk to interact option does, but in my experience it appears to cut out Lara's animation for walking to objects, which at times I got confused with missing interacting with objects altogether, so I preferred the option turned off.
Let's go for a swim.
Even with modern controls enabled, I found there was a few tips and tricks to make the game movements easier. The first tip you're going to need to know is to get out of water. To do this, get to the edge of the water and then use R2 to get out of the water. If I recall correctly, the tutorial in Lara's Manor says to use the action button, which is triangle. However, this does not work in my experience.
Well, let's do some exercises.
Sometimes you will need to move Lara with more precision than you will get with normal controls. Pushing forward on the left stick as normal will make Lara run, but hold square and a direction and Lara will walk pretty slowly, which will allow you to position Lara for a jump or directly below a ledge so she can reach up and grab it. You may also need to create room for Lara to have a run up for a jump. To do this, start by standing still in the direction you want to be in. Then hold L2 to raise your weapon and then tap back on the left stick to backstep. This also works in combat. To move blocks or draggable objects, hold down triangle and then pull in the direction you wish. I'm clarifying this as most games would use the same button for grab and moving things, but Tomb Raider has decided it wants to be different for some reason. Once I got used to the game's unusual controls, I noticed a few handy tricks to make platforming easier. The first thing I noticed was that jumping has a slight delay. So if you're jumping over something, press the button a tiny bit earlier than you would on a modern game. This will help you clear jumps much easier. In most cases when scaling a wall, it's easier to press R2 as you jump and then Lara will definitely grab the top of the ledge. You will be surprised how high up Lara can grab, so it's always worth giving it a try. Some blocks are an awkward height that's not really a jump or a scale. Push forward on the left stick and press R2. Lara will scale the block as she would a large scale climb. As much as this sounds like a bizarre tip, don't fight the camera. The camera in this game is not very accommodating, but you will never win the fight. Work with it as much as you can. When it comes to combat, Lara fires both pistols if she's facing forward. However, if you make Lara strafe, she will be harder for enemies to hit and she will still fire off one of her pistols. This works very well for the dinosaur boss fight, for instance. Tomb Raider does not have an autosave feature, so it's up to you to save your progress. If you die, you go back to your most recent save. There is no penalty for saving unless going for one specific PlayStation trophy, which allows up to 86 saves anyway, so I strongly suggest saving often. Also bear in mind that the game defaults to the load menu first and not the save menu, so make sure you're on the menu you want before you save or load. Put it this way, I learned the hard way. Sometimes you just want to get a bit creative. You can open the game's photo mode by clicking in both sticks together. It's kinda cool to mess around with, to be fair. You can also swap the graphical style between remastered and original by pressing the options button. You can do this in real time, so it's really cool to see the difference between how it used to be and how it is now. I hope some of these tips have been useful to you, and I hope you enjoy playing Tomb Raider 1 Remastered.